oh boy, an October surprise for Hillary Clinton that will produce thoroughly, completely, and entirely unsurprising results. Trumplicans are celebrating like they've already got the election in the bag over the announcement on Friday that the FBI is reopening its Emailgate investigation. And to listen to these people, you would think that the last 25 years vis-a-vis the La Clinton Nostra had never happened. They're saying what we used to say on a daily basis back in the 90s. All right! Finally, we got the Clintons right where we want them. Yeah! And how did that ever turn out? Seriously. 25 years. Conservatives have been saying some variation of, yeah, finally we got them where we want them. And then we never do. They escape, or they were never there to be captured or defeated in the first place. I mean, I think it was 1995, so 21 years ago, I wrote an essay entitled Strange Luck. Now, this was a riff on a Fox TV series of the time. I think it starred Lance Hendrickson, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure. I'd have to go look it up on Internet Movie Database. But the idea, it was in the context of the Clintons, and the idea was the Clintons are bulletproof. The Clintons can do anything they want, break any law they want, and they will always get away with it. In fact, it will benefit them. Their poll numbers will go up. It happened throughout the 90s. Now, I know that Hillary Clinton is not the political savant that her husband is. But what she lacks in talent, she makes up for with preparation, iron self-discipline, and apparatus, infrastructure of the campaign variety. And the fact that, of course, the media is totally in her bloomers. And there's plenty of room for all of them, yes. So, I'm watching Trumplican reaction to this October surprise bombshell that the FBI is going to reopen its Emailgate investigation. And I look at it and I conclude, yeah, so what? How did the first one turn out? What makes you think that this is going to be any different? And there's only a week and a half to go. I mean, this is not a bombshell in Clinton terms. In Clinton terms, a bombshell would be, I don't know, finding a dead body wherever, well, on Mrs. Clinton's plane, or in Chappaqua, New York, or I mean, there's no such thing, as a practical matter. There's no such thing as a dead body, as a smoking gun, where the Clintons are concerned. They always have the 6 degrees of separation. Now, with this one, there's maybe like 1 or 2. I mean, here's the context in which you have to look at this reopening of the Emailgate investigation by the FBI. Think 2 degrees of separation, maybe only 1. And I'll tell you who's going to take the fall, if there's any fall to be taken. Huma Abedin Wiener. Mrs. Clinton's right-hand woman. That's who will take the fall from this, not Hillary Clinton. Mm-mm. I mean, I'm trying to prepare a soft landing for you Trumplicans out there, because this is not going to affect Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's not going to be indicted still. She should be. God knows she won't be. This is why I don't really spend a whole lot of time. Oh, look at this Clinton scandal. Oh, look at that Clinton scandal. We spent 25 years doing that. And when has it ever mattered? When has it ever changed anything? When has it ever even slowed the La Clinton Nostra down? It never has. In fact, the only loss that La Clinton Nostra has on its ledger was 2008, and that was at the hands of somebody who was arguably even worse. So we can't touch them, is the point. I mean, we could have if we'd nominated a Republican instead of Donald Trump, but as it stands, we can't touch them now either. The announcement of the resumption of an investigation is not going to make more than a small, it's causing the race to tighten some, but it's not going to change the outcome. Hillary Clinton is still going to be the next president of the United States. Like I say, there's not enough time for any true bombshells of the magnitude that you would need to actually hurt the Clintons, and metaphorically speaking, those would be comparable to Tsar Bomba. Yeah, metaphorically speaking, don't expect that. Plain simple fact of the matter is, these new revelations about Mrs. Clinton's corruption are unlikely in the extreme to prevent her coronation. And you will be shocked also to discover that Kevin Williamson agrees with me. This morning, nationalreview.com. Now, you may have noticed that Donald Trump has a real weakness for hyperbole, and he probably is wrong when he insists that Hillary Rodham Clinton is the most corrupt person ever to get this close to the presidency of the United States. Well, I don't know. He's probably right about that, but only because Mrs. Clinton is ahead of him. And if Trump were ahead, he would be the most corrupt person ever to get that close to the presidency of the United States. Now, that is a list. Like, let's say there was a top 10 list. They're both at least in the top 10. I would say in the top 2. But that is a list you probably don't want to contemplate too intensely if you enjoy sleeping at night. Now, James Comey, the contemptible bureaucrat who apparently is running the show at the FBI these days, just informed Congress that the agency plans to reopen its investigation into the question of Mrs. Clinton's covert email system, the classified information that passed through it, the contents of emails that were improperly kept from investigators, and more. How long do you think that's going to take, even if it is legit? I'm telling you, they might take down Huma Abedin-Wiener. Huma Abedin-Wiener may wind up and is probably going to be the sword faller honor in Emailgate, but it's not going to be Mrs. Clinton. No, 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 no. The FBI, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., that program way back. I mean, think of Quantico as a 21st century update, or not a remake, but an update of Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.'s The FBI with a lot hotter lead. The FBI has learned of the existence of emails that appear pertinent to the investigation. Comey wrote to Congress, which means that the FBI is finally catching up with the gentleman in Moscow and on BuzzFeed. By the way, they found emails on Emailgate related emails on Andrew Weiner's smartphone, iPhone, BlackBerry, whatever the hell those things are. I don't even keep track. So that's how that's their on ramp back into the Emailgate investigation. So hurrah for the Phoebes, I guess. You see, the recent WikiLeaks release is hugely entertaining reading. Vexed by the Clinton circle's lack of email security, Clinton aide Cheryl Mills wrote to John Podesta in an email, for God's sake. We need to clean this up. Oh man, everybody has less confidence than Mrs. Clinton, huh? And why shouldn't she be utterly arrogant about and complacent about her ability to get away with anything? She has been doing it for the past 30 years in Arkansas and then on the national stage. Clean what up, you might be asking? He, referring to Barack Obama, has emails from her. They do not say state.gov. Oops. Or really not so much of an oops. Because remember who really runs the FBI. And it's not James Comey. You'll recall that Barack Obama, whose dishonesty is at least as instinctive as Richard Nixon's ever was, said,
"Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning."
About Mrs. Clinton's email shenanigans until he learned about the situation on the evening news. I first heard about it on the news is Obama's standard line on practically everything. If, God forbid, the man should one day come down with testicular cancer, he'll learn about it from Dr. Sanjay Gupta at 7 p.m. on a Slow News Wednesday on CNN. But then you have to have balls before you can have testicular cancer, right? Now remember that this mess started with the invasion of an email account belonging to Sidney Blumenthal, a longtime Clinton sycophant. If you and your gang were in hot water because you could not keep your secret emails secret, what on earth would possess you to put such a confession of what looks for all the world like conspiracy to obstruct justice, into an email? Oh my God. English is going to need a stronger word for stupidity, ladies and gentlemen. It just is. But don't expect this to slow down herself and herself's coronation. Not too much, anyway. The Clintons are, after all, the luckiest people in politics. Strange luck. They always get away with it. And it almost always helps them politically. Current Republican rhetoric notwithstanding, in other words, Trumplican rhetoric that they really should know better than to believe. We got her now. No, you don't. And nobody ever will. You know, there was, in fact, a time in American history when Americans were doing so much winning that they got tired of winning, and that time was 1992. We had just defeated the Soviet Union, won the Cold War, World War III, watched as simultaneously weeping and jubilant Germans ripped down the Berlin Wall, enjoyed one of the greatest economic expansions in the history of the human race, as we went from gasoline lines and stagflation to an economy that grew by more than a third over Ronald Reagan's 8 years, and then watched with no small degree of pride as George H.W. Bush slapped a "Do you even foreign policy, bro?" bumper sticker on the back of Air Force One and deftly built an effectively worldwide coalition against Saddam Hussein when he decided to disturb the peace. We were sick of winning, and Bill Clinton, a well-scrubbed, hustling rube with no small degree of political talent, capitalized on that with his one-word campaign: change. Remember that? You must have the courage to change. You know, he had to fabricate that canard about worst economy in the last 50 years, which was absolute crap. Remember how much the gross domestic product increased? How much the economy grew in calendar year 1992? 3.7%. Worst economy in the preceding 50 years? I don't think so. In other words, they lied. Oh, the Clinton campaign lied. Who'd have thunk it? Change. Change from what? To what? Some of us asked. Well, now we know. Mrs. Clinton is at least as lucky as her husband, even if she totally lacks his political skill set, inasmuch as the American electorate does not seem to be very much moved by the argument, Hillary Clinton is venal, untrustworthy, and dishonest, so vote for Donald Trump. I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Even a roster of heavy-hitting, conservative ex-intellectuals, like Callista Gingrich, for example, doesn't seem to have had much effect. I pointed out the other day on Facebook that had the GOP had the sense that God gave a doorknob to nominate, say, Ted Cruz, it would be, this election would be neck and neck. I estimate that Hillary would be leading, but it would be 270 to 268 in the Electoral College. It would be a absolute dead heat. And if the GOP had had more sense than God gave a doorknob and nominated Marco Rubio, who consistently throughout the primaries polled the best against Mrs. Clinton, Rubio would be headed for a 370 to 168 blowout of Hillary Clinton in the Electoral College, and that's before these new Emailgate revelations. Instead, they nominated Donald Trump. And Mrs. Clinton currently leads in the Electoral College projection 333 to 199 with 6 electoral votes going for Utah's Evan McMullen. Good job, Trumplicans. And this leaves us in a very difficult spot. Now, the act of making predictions about politics is of very limited value because human societal systems are inherently unpredictable. But what seems most likely to await us in January is a President Hillary Rodham Clinton facing an open-ended federal investigation involving serious wrongdoing, a Senate that is either deadlocked or close to it, and a Republican House that has slightly less positive power than it does right now, and hence is pushed even more deeply into pure opposition. The media will publish duly considered lamentations of the ensuing paralysis and partisan rancor, even as it secretly cherishes the emotionally charged content that such a situation produces on a weekly basis. Various gentlemen, very loosely used term, on the radio will tell conservatives that things would be different if only Paul Ryan really, really believed in the immortality of Tinkerbell. Yeah, that's coming, because they'll never learn. Inaction often is the best kind of action in Washington, but there can be too much of a thoroughly okay compared to the next best thing option, or option thing, whatever. Despite the assurances of the people who believe that climate change is a more pressing problem than the national debt, the same people who believe that the Obama regime's Syria policy is a remarkable success, recall, we are on course to leave behind the relatively modest deficits of recent years and return to the very large, one might even say, huge ones, as our unbalanced entitlement programs run even more wildly amok. We are one substantial jump in interest rates away from a national fiscal crisis, ladies and gentlemen. That recent healthcare reform, whose success all the best people, many of the worst, assured us was beyond question, is sending many families' household finances into desperation and disarray. There are atomic ayatollahs. Today, there is much that needs to be done. And how happy for us that neither major party presidential candidate has any intention of doing anything about any of that except to make it worse. I tell you what, it's never Trumpers that deserve to be angry. Our anger is merited because we actually wanted to stop all this. And it's Trumplicans who screwed it all up. For the moment, the fortunes of the Republic are being held hostage by the competing psychoses of two of the worst people of our time, along with the various financial and political interests attached to those two living, breathing personifications of wrong. As one Wall Street trader put it, in the short term, the markets are driven by fear and greed. In the long term, they're driven by math. Fear and greed have their role in politics too, but in the long term, the fate of these United States will not be governed by math, but by the monster that haunted Harold Macmillan's nightmares. Events. Perfect example. Osama bin Laden was the furthest thing from most American minds when they went to the polls in 2000, or when George W. Bush was sworn in 2001. Herbert Hoover was exactly the sort of man Americans say they want as a president. Brilliant, pragmatic, an engineer, knows how to fix things. He even donated his government paychecks to charity. He seemed like the obvious man for the job. Until he wasn't. Events, we're not ready for them. The very fact that Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are the two presidential nominees from the major parties is proof of that. But again, don't expect the Clintons' strange luck not to continue unimpeded and unfettered. After all, they gave her Donald Trump as her opponent, right?